Hey everybody, this is TJR.
And this is Superfan.
We're just hanging out with our little compadre here. And Record Store Day 2023, Black Friday. The list has posted today. And this is the part where everybody on the internet goes, boo, hiss. The list sucks this year. There's nothing good. And honestly, there's maybe two items, although one of them is kind of a big item that I'm interested in this year.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. What's interesting is before we shot this, I listened to Mike at the In Groove channel,
Okay.
and of course he runs a store, and he brought this point up. That everybody says, "Oh, the list isn't that great this year," and because he runs a store, his perspective's a bit different.
Yeah.
Some of the things that people question, like why are they doing this? Like for instance, there's the Beach Boys Christmas record is on the list. And a lot of people are saying, why is that there? That's a readily available album. And his attitude is, it's holiday themed. It's going to sell. You know,
Yeah.
he admits, yeah, it's readily available. It's not that hard of a record to get, but it's holiday themed. It's going to probably sell. And true, Black Friday, Record Store Day, there's going to be more holiday themed releases for that reason.
Well, it is that gift giving time of year.
That's yes, you are right. It is.
And nothing says Christmas like Black Friday Record Store Day.
That's right. But he did say, though, that since he's had a store since the beginning of Record Store Day, that there's kind of an average of 5 per person, meaning that most people, they're usually it's about 5 titles that they're excited about on average. Sometimes less, sometimes more, but generally about 5 titles per person is what people are interested in. And actually, I, can only afford so much.
Yeah. Until we win the lotto.
Yeah, I can only afford so much. So it's like I'm glad that there's not that many releases that I'm excited about. I was going to say initially there was just one release I thought I was interested in. Then I found a second one. Oh, okay, I missed this one when I first looked through the list. And that's one thing. You can look through these lists and then suddenly realize that you missed something. But there's 2 releases that I'm really, really interested in. But I thought I'd talk a little bit about what's on here. But just because it may not be like a great list for me doesn't mean it's not a good list for you. And I've always said, as long as there's at least one title that I'm really excited about, then it's worth going to, especially if it's a Record Store Day exclusive. Then it's something to get excited about. So I'm just kind of looking at this here, and I'll admit there are some things like I do have to wonder about. Maybe there's something about this that I don't know, but like one of these is Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey original motion picture score. That's that recent R-rated Winnie the Pooh horror movie that came out recently, which neither of us saw. Maybe it's the composer Andrew Scott Bell, but maybe he's popular. I don't know, but I do have to like look at that and think, okay, you know, that's not even holiday themed. So I'm not sure how that, how that works. But
yeah, it's a little late though too because it's not Halloween. It's more Halloween than
it's more Halloween than Christmas. Yeah, that's true. And this is in November, so yeah, it's too late for that. But and there's a lot of things like there's lots of, from what I understand, there's lots of great jazz releases here. But I'm just barely getting my little toe into the pool that is jazz. So it's, to me, it's just still a lot of it is just like not something that I'm that curious about. One thing I have to bring up here, I mentioned this on Record Store Day proper from earlier this year, was they had released this Eric Carr of Kiss, his one solo album.
Mm-hmm.
They released it on Record Store Day proper earlier in the year, where they did some very clever packaging. They packaged it like it was part of the Kiss solo albums of the 70s, complete with the poster and everything. And they did the whole bit. And I looked at it, and I remember I thought, that's really clever the way they're doing this. And they released it on vinyl and CD. So I'm looking here and I see, wait, here it is again. I thought these were Record Store Day exclusives. How can they do it again? That kind of defeats the point. The difference is they are releasing it again, but this time it is a picture disc. whereas the last time it was on splatter vinyl.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, picture disc is completely different
yeah, I don't. Yeah, of course,
and not a good listening
they've
experience.
never. Yeah, from what I hear, picture discs have never been good listening experiences. I've never been interested in them. It seems every time they do a Cure album for Record Store Day, it's a picture disc. So I steer clear of them. Robert has been wanting to get me into the Cure for a while, and I've always thought if they release one of their albums, one of their classic albums on Record Store Day, that would be enough of like a sign from God.
Either that or VMP.
Yeah, or Vinyl Me Please. Yeah, maybe they'll do it. Yeah, but
Come on, Cure. Get
but
with it.
anyway, so yes, I saw this picture. Just okay. Now I thought to myself, there's a marketing move that even Gene Simmons would be proud of. You know, talk about getting people to pay for something again. Um, One thing that's kind of interesting here, the LP version of this is a exclusive, but it's coming out on CD as well as a Record Store Day first. So that tells me there's going to be a larger release of this.
Yeah.
The Doors live in Bakersfield, and limited to 7,500 copies, 2 LP set. This is them in their later years. And earlier I talked about the Live at the Matrix CD. I did a video about that, which is a great live CD. I mean, for what it is, because it's just, it was recorded at a small club and they found the master tapes. It sounds really good for what it is, but you get to hear the Doors before they're famous. And there's just like polite applause between the songs. And it's a great thing to really hear them and just hear how good they already were at this point. How
Yeah,
incredibly
'cause
tight.
it's almost studio quality.
Yeah, it was really good. Now I don't know how good this recording is going to be here, but it is coming out on CD as a Record Store Day first, which is different from an exclusive. An exclusive means it's exclusive to Record Store Day. You're probably never going to see it or hear from it again. Um, uh, these Record Store Day first releases mean they're going to come out at a later time from their label in a more mass marketed fashion. But this is, a 2 LP set. It has like a 15-minute version of the end on side D. It's got a 13-minute version of When the Music's Over on side B. And it's from what I understand, they play very much at this point in time, they were really like playing in like a medley fashion where one song would bleed into another song, would bleed into another song. And that's kind of how they were playing at this point in their careers. And this, like I said, was kind of getting close near to the end of them as a band. So that's something that might interest some, but I would wait for that myself if it's going to come out on CD later. One thing here that I think might interest some fans of this channel is The Faces Had Me a Real Good Time. In session, live at the BBC, 1971 to 1973. Limited to 5,000 copies. This is a Record Store Day exclusive. The original band members here. This is not something that I'm going to be interested in, but I still can see where this might be really interesting to some of you out there that watch this channel. In Excess, Shabu Shabah,
Okay.
and limited to 3,500 copies. A new collection of 11 rare B-sides, remixes, and live performances. From the 1983 breakthrough album by In Excess includes extended versions of The One Thing and Black and White, selections from the band's performances at the 1982 US Festival, plus other rare tracks that have been out of print on vinyl since the early 80s. I thought that might be of interest to some out there. Let me take a look here. There is a release here from Joni Mitchell. Court and Spark Demos. Limited to 6,300 copies. One record set. Court and Spark is the most commercially successful album of Joni Mitchell's career. It's an album that I love. This LP features the never-before-heard demos from the iconic album, including Help Me and Raised on Robbery. So this is pretty cool, I think. I love this album. This is still not on my list, but I might think about it. This one here. I'm a big fan of this album. There's a Willie Nelson album, a real early one, called Shotgun Willie, 50th Anniversary Deluxe Edition. From what I hear, early Willie Nelson stuff is hard to get on vinyl in any kind of good condition. And this contains it's expanded with extra tracks. So it's a 2 LP set. Oh, this was an interesting thing here. War, The World is a Ghetto 50th Anniversary Collector's Edition. Now, this, I'm not going to get this, but this caught my eye because a while back, um, I picked up this box set at Record Store Day, which was the first 5 albums on colored vinyl with their original packaging. And what's interesting about this is prior to getting this, War had always just been a greatest hits band for me. That's all they'd ever been.
Well, and a band you opened up for once.
Yes, I did. Yes, we did open up for them once. That's right. But this band here, I said this set, I don't know why, but as we were getting closer to Record Store Day, I kept thinking, I think I want this. And I couldn't explain why, because they had only ever been a greatest hits band for me. I did pick it up. I listened to every album. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed the albums. I knew the hits, of course. Definitely some cool funk and soul. But what was really surprising is that some of the tracks were very jam oriented. And those tracks were really meditative, something I wasn't expecting. They had a real meditative quality. Their first album, and I should say, of course, if you know about War, you know that there was an earlier incarnation of them called Eric Burdon and War. I've never listened to any of that. But the first one with them is just War. This album right here, this was a weird album. And I mean wonderfully weird. I think they were still trying to figure out who they were outside of, after losing their lead singer. I think they were trying to figure out who they were. But I really enjoyed those, and that was a real surprise. But this here is actually a 5 LP set, so like a big expanded version of just the album "The World Is a Ghetto." And while I enjoyed that album, I think I enjoyed it enough to buy a 5 LP expanded version of it.
Yeah,
it's not for me, but that doesn't mean it's not for you. But this definitely caught my eye because of that. And all the albums on this box set, all these new remasterings that were from the original analog tapes, if I'm not mistaken, got released separately after this set came out. But the set was a separate, unique thing. It never came out as a set like that with the box and everything.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be. Sometimes I feel like they're testing the market, because if they release it on white vinyl, for example, they can release it on black vinyl and it's not the same thing that they're marketing here as the Record Store Day exclusive.
I don't even see much of that where they even do that. Usually if it's a Record Store Day exclusive, it stays an exclusive. The closest I've seen happen is I've seen a few Record Store Day singles get released digitally only. So that if you have the physical copy, you still have that uniquely, but they'll release it digitally, and that's it. Oh, and there's one other thing here that actually might interest you, because it's one of your favorite bands, and this is X, and it's the album. Yeah, that perked you up. It's the album "Ain't Love Grand."
Okay.
It's their 5th studio album, released originally back in 1985. This will also include a 7-inch of the band's single "Wild Thing." The last vinyl pressing of "Ain't Love Grand" was in 1985.
Yeah, so it hasn't been released since then.
Yeah, and this is an exclusive. So that means it's just for this Record Store Day Black Friday release. And let me see what it's limited to here. 1,800 copies. So that's really limited.
Yeah, I think
I've seen more limited than that, but that's pretty limited.
I think I'll be snatched out.
Okay, all right. I had a feeling it might interest you. If this picture here is any indication, it's on some kind of like blood red vinyl color. You can see it here on the picture here. It looks like, and then of course there's the 7-inch too. But yeah, they don't advertise as colored vinyl here.
Well, they're showing it. They're showing the colored vinyl.
Well, usually they tell you. They also tell you, but they are showing it to you here. So,
and it could be that it's not going to be on colored vinyl, but that's just
a mock-up picture. And that can happen. That can happen, yeah.
And that's why they're not advertising it as.
Yeah, that could definitely happen.
Well, I hopefully I will be able to tell you.
Yeah, I hope so. Then, of course, they have the limited run regional focus releases, which means they're only in certain regions here. When I look at these, the only thing that catches my eye, and not for me, but I think it would be of interest to Robert, is there's a 7-inch here of Amy Mann called Dead Eyes. 7-inch vinyl single of unreleased track Dead Eyes and B-side demo version of Dead Eyes, a song inspired by Connor Ratcliffe's podcast. And so I think that would be of interest to Robert because he's a big fan of Amy Mann. But here's where the two things that kind of draw my attention here. One of them is from Norah Jones, and it's called Playing Along, and quantity 3,000. And this is, I'll just read the more info description here. This is from her podcast. She has a podcast called Playing Along. Each episode of Playing, or actually not Playing Along, Playing Around, excuse me. Each episode of Playing Around, she sits down with a different guest for an impromptu musical collaborations and candid conversations. And so these are the actual musical tracks. And so you've got her doing impromptu duets with people like Jeff Tweedy, Mavis Staples, Valerie June, Logic. And so they're releasing a collection of these tracks here. Norah Jones Playing Along. It's going to be on a, looks like a lavender blue vinyl from the looks of it here. Sea blue vinyl, they're saying it. That's what it is here. Now, this is a record store day first, which says that it's going to come out later on. But however, though, last record store day proper, I picked this up. Norah Jones live at All Air Studios. Dirty Little Secrets live at All Air Studios. This is basically her performing the Dirty Little Secrets album live in the studio with her band. And it's startlingly different from the studio version because of the difference between the production used in the studio version versus her playing it live with her band. And it's really, it sounds wonderful. It's wonderfully intimate. It's a great recording.
Well, there was an audience there, wasn't there?
No, there was no audience for this.
Okay. Okay.
No audience whatsoever, just live in the studio. But it really shows the difference that a producer can make, how different things can sound depending on your producer. Because, on the studio album, Brian Burton was the producer of the album. He co-wrote the songs with her. And it has a certain sound to it.
Yeah.
But here, it's just her and her band playing it live. It sounds very different. The feel is very, very different, even though it's the same songs. But this here, I initially thought that these were going to be the live tracks on the deluxe edition because they released a anniversary edition of the album Dirty Little Secrets, which had a remastering, had some bonus tracks and some alternate takes, but also had a disc of live material. Live at Austin City Limits is what it turned out to be. That was in front of an audience.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm confused.
And you probably so, but I had thought that this was going to be the live stuff on the deluxe edition, the 2 CD set that they released. I thought it was this, and then found out after the fact, oh, it's not. So this is still different from what was on the anniversary edition. I have yet to see this get released nationally. It's still only a record store day release, but it was a record store day first. That means it's supposed to come out later, but it hasn't yet.
And it's the type of thing they would release come Christmas time as a gift, like a gift set type of thing.
I don't know, maybe, but I mean,
there's always in retail, be it records or whatever, there are always releases that come out with intent for holiday purchase.
Okay. Well, so far it hasn't been re-released yet. So I kind of think, okay, I probably will. If I get anything, I'm going to get this. Because I love Norah Jones. And even though it might come out later on, I have to look at this and realize, hey, this didn't. And so I think I'm going to pick it up. The other item that I'm thinking about here that is a record store day first release is a 4 LP set here, Bo Diddley, I'm a Man, the Chess Masters from 1955 to 1958. Now this had recently been released on CD. It's apparently hard to get now. I don't think it was ever released on vinyl, but here it's being released as a 4 LP set. Quantity 900. Very low.
Yeah, that's not a lot either.
And it's going to depend. Like I said, I'm interested in this, but depending on how expensive it is, because everything's gotten more expensive lately. You know,
Yeah.
That war set would be a lot more expensive now than it was then when I got it a few years ago. But this doesn't intrigue me. But it is Record Store Day first, which is again saying that this should get a bigger release later on down the line. Maybe they'll do something to make it kind of make it unique, like put it on colored vinyl. But there's nothing said about it here. Actually, no, wait a minute. It's from Third Man Records. This is from Third Man Records. It is on a special Silver Flake vinyl, 150 gram vinyl.
Oh, there you go.
But that does intrigue me. We'll have to see how much it is. You don't know. I've never been able to find out before I get there yet. Some people have told me that they have found out. I don't see too much more here that I'd be personally interested, especially given that it's Record Store Day first, meaning that it's, like I said, just gonna come out later and will probably be less expensive when it does. But that's basically it here as far as the releases that I see here. And I don't see anything else that would really interest you, Superfan, just the one by X. You can look at the list, but I don't see anything else that would really interest you except that one. I know you're a huge fan of that band. It's one of your favorites.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But anyways, though.
I've seen them many times. I saw them when the Red Hot Chili Peppers opened at Irvine Meadows.
Really?
I did, yeah.
Huh. For X. Cool.
They opened for X back in their local band days.
Wow. Very cool. But that's everything. I mean, that's not everything, of course. That's just kind of a little overview. And this is, like I said, just what's caught my eye, what I think might catch Superfan's eye. I also look to see if there's anything that might catch Robert's attention as well. Anyways, though, but that's what's some of what's out there. Leave a comment. What have you seen? What do you think? Anything out there that like really has you excited that you're like, wow, this I think I'd like to get. Let me know. I'll be curious to hear what you have to say. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. And also, thank you, patron supporters.
You are fierce and mighty.
Patron supporters receive exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel. But mostly, everybody, thank you for coming by, stopping by. And it's always great to talk music with y'all. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.